On the eve of a major diplomatic summit, Russian President Vladimir Putin has offered surprising praise for the Trump administration's approach to ending the war in Ukraine. Speaking to senior Russian officials today in a televised briefing, Putin described Washington's current efforts as energetic and sincere. His comments come just hours before he is set to meet with President Donald Trump in Anchorage, Alaska, for a high-stakes meeting aimed at de-escalating global tensions. The conflict in Ukraine will be front and center at the summit, scheduled for tomorrow, August 15th. Beyond Ukraine, Putin also hinted at the possibility of a breakthrough on another critical front, suggesting that a new nuclear arms control agreement could emerge from the broader peace discussions. This has fueled intense speculation that the two leaders may be looking to revive talks on strategic stability, which have stalled since the expiration of the New START treaty. An agreement would be a significant development in managing the world's two largest nuclear arsenals. The agenda for the Anchorage meeting is packed, including extended one-on-one talks between the presidents, a bilateral working lunch, and a joint press conference, where the world will be watching for any signs of a diplomatic reset. The choice of Alaska as a venue is seen as symbolic, a neutral ground between the two global powers. Meanwhile, here at home, a different kind of pressure is building, this time on the American economy. A key inflation indicator released today shows that wholesale prices jumped unexpectedly in July, raising new concerns about the persistence of inflation. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that the Producer Price Index, or PPI, rose by a significant 0.9% last month. This was a sharp reversal from the flat 0% reading in June and far surpassed economists' consensus estimate of a modest 0.2% increase. The PPI measures the prices businesses pay for goods and services and is often seen as a pipeline indicator, foreshadowing future costs for consumers in the Consumer Price Index, or CPI. The Bureau noted that the surge was driven primarily by a more than 1% rise in the cost of final demand services, the largest monthly gain in that category since March of 2022. Within that, a 2% boost for trade services was the chief cause, though declines in hospital outpatient care and furniture retail partially offset the increase. The unexpected data has financial experts warning that the Federal Reserve will be watching closely. As one analyst put it, the Fed won't like this report, suggesting that the central bank, which has been hoping for signs of cooling inflation, may now feel compelled to consider further interest rate hikes to rein in the economy. From economic uncertainty to the stark consequences of political division, a former Republican candidate in New Mexico was sentenced today to 80 years in prison for orchestrating a series of drive-by shootings. Solomon Peña, who lost his bid for a state house seat in November 2022, was convicted earlier this year on 13 felony charges for organizing attacks on the homes of 4 Democratic officials in Albuquerque. The officials targeted included 2 Bernalillo County commissioners and 2 New Mexico state legislators, one of whom is the current State House Speaker. Prosecutors successfully argued that Peña was motivated by his unsubstantiated claims that widespread election fraud caused his defeat. Following his loss, he confronted county commissioners, demanding they not certify the results. When they refused, he hired co-conspirators Jose and Demetrio Trujillo to carry out the shootings, which took place between December 2022 and January 2023. In one of the attacks, Peña personally participated, firing a weapon that later jammed. While no one was injured, some shootings occurred while the officials' children and other family members were inside. The U.S. Attorney for New Mexico stated that violence and intimidation have no place in our elections. In a final, chilling detail, it was revealed that after his arrest, Peña attempted to have the Trujillo cousins murdered to prevent them from testifying against him. Both men had already pleaded guilty and cooperated with prosecutors. Peña's lawyer has stated they will appeal the conviction and the lengthy sentence. That theme of political and ideological conflict is also playing out in the nation's schools. In Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin has ordered the state police to launch a full criminal investigation into explosive allegations at a Fairfax County high school. The probe centers on claims that staff at Centerville High School arranged abortions for students, including a 17-year-old, without parental consent. The allegations, which date back to 2021, also suggest that public school funds may have been used to pay for the procedures, which could include a mix of local, state, and federal money. In a statement, Governor Youngkin said he was deeply concerned and that the state police's Bureau of Criminal Investigation would open a full criminal investigation immediately. The school district, Fairfax County Public Schools, has also launched its own separate investigation, hiring an external investigator to get the facts. In a previous statement, the district said, "At no time would the situation as described in these allegations from back in 2021 be acceptable. Current district policy states that every effort shall be made to encourage and support students suspecting pregnancy to discuss their concerns with their parents or guardians. However, the policy does not explicitly require staff to inform parents of those conversations. The case has drawn swift condemnation from pro-life groups and highlights the intense national debate over parental rights in public education. This debate over deeply held beliefs and the law is also echoing in the nation's highest court. Kim Davis, the former Kentucky County Clerk who was briefly jailed a decade ago for refusing to issue marriage licenses to same-sex couples, is now petitioning the Supreme Court to overturn its landmark 2015 decision that legalized same-sex marriage nationwide. The petition is part of an appeal against a lower court ruling that ordered Davis to pay $360,000 in legal fees to plaintiffs David Ermold and David Moore, a couple she denied a license. Her lawyer, Matt Staver, argues that the First Amendment's protection of religious freedom should be an absolute defense for Davis, but their petition goes further, asking the justices to completely overturn the Obergefell v. Hodges decision, which the filing calls a legal fiction grounded in substantive due process. Staver believes there is a good chance the court will take the case, pointing to its current conservative majority. He notes that 3 dissenters from the original Obergefell ruling, Chief Justice John Roberts and Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito, remain on the bench, while only 2 justices from the majority, Sonia Sotomayor and Elena Kagan, are still serving. The petition argues that overturning the decision would not invalidate existing marriages, which would be grandfathered, but would return the authority to define marriage to individual states. Attorneys for the couple are confident the court will reject the petition, stating that marriage equality is settled law.